Hey everybody, hopefully all of you are doing well. Today we're going to be making some chicken and vegetable egg rolls. This recipe is easy, and as we go through it, you'll be able to see that you have a ton of options to make it your own. So let's get into it. So let's start with our vegetable prep. I have some shiitake mushrooms. Don't worry if you don't like shiitake mushrooms or mushrooms period, you don't have to use them. But if you're going to use mushrooms any type in any recipe, you don't want to wash them under running water. You always want to take some damp paper towels and just wipe them off. The reason why you don't want to run mushrooms under running water is because they're going to absorb the water and then that's going to change the texture. It's going to make them really rubbery when you cook with them. So just be sure and follow that cleaning process and you'll do good. I'm just going to slice them really thinly and then we'll move on to our next step. Next, I'm going to shred some Napa cabbage. You can use a Savoy cabbage. If you can't find a Napa cabbage, that's fine, because we're going to shred it nice and thin. And you need about 4 cups for this recipe. Before the video started, I also pre-washed some bean sprouts because I like bean sprouts in my egg rolls. They're there on the left-hand side of the screen. Make sure, even if you buy them in the bag and the bag says washed, you still want to wash them no matter what. Trust me, they have bacteria and you want to avoid it. So we have our bean sprouts, Napa cabbage, carrots, shiitake mushrooms, and some grated ginger and some garlic. Now, because I shot this video before my range was installed, I'm using the Waring Pro Extra Burner. I bought this device. It is a decent device, don't get me wrong, but I'll tell you how I like it in a minute. I have a large skillet preheating over high heat with about 2 to 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil and 1 tablespoon of sesame oil, and I'm just going to brown up 1 pound of ground chicken. If you don't want to use ground chicken, you can use ground pork or even ground turkey. Once I've been cooking the chicken for a few minutes, maybe 3 to 5 minutes, I'll go ahead and add the garlic and the ginger. So this Waring Pro Extra Burner is a very nice device, but I found out that it took me some adjusting because I'm so used to gas. I'm used to that open fire, and that really gets the blood pumping. So I didn't like it for the first few days. I didn't care for it at all. But I got used to it, and it's actually a good device if you're traveling and you're going to be in a spot where you may need access to cook something. It is a good device to take with you. So there you go. Here I've just added some soy sauce. I'm just going to season it up the way I like. You have lots of options to season it up any way you like. After a while, I'm going to add the mushrooms, and they're going to absorb any oil that you think you have in the pan. The mushrooms are going to take it up. So you can add a little bit if you want to, but remember, this is a filling for the egg rolls, and you don't want egg roll filling to be too wet because it's going to mess up your wrappers. And then all of the rest of the vegetables, the carrots, the bean sprouts, and the cabbage will follow. And now you're just going to saute until those vegetables are slightly wilted. I ended up making a slurry. I made 2 tablespoons of flour and with 2 tablespoons of water and mixed it together. I thought I was going to use both tablespoons, but I only ended up using 1 because I didn't have that much liquid to begin. So if you find that you have quite a bit of liquid in there, you might want to be cautious. Slurry will thicken that liquid up, but remember, the liquid still exists. And like I said earlier, you don't want the mixture to be too wet. So as you can see, my mixture is nice and wilted. That's it. I'm done. I still like my vegetables to have a little bit of texture, so I'm going to take it out and put it on a nice plate to cool. You want the filling to be cool as you start to make the egg rolls. Don't forget too, at this point you still have time to taste that filling to make sure the seasoning is to your liking, because you don't want to make the egg rolls and then find out you didn't have enough salt, pepper, or whatever you wanted in there. All right, so now we're going to move on to making the egg rolls. I have some egg roll wrappers that I got at my local Asian market, and I'm just going to take my finger and put a little bit of water on all 4 edges, and then I'm going to have one of the points pointing toward me. All right, so you need 1 point pointing at your belly button. All right, and then you're going to put a 1/4 cup of the filling down towards yourself at that lower point, and then you're going to start to wrap. You're going to close both ends after you make that roll in the beginning, and then you're going to turn, make sure all of your ends are tucked in. And what I do is put a little bit more water right there on the closure. For those of you that are vegetarian, or you just want a vegetarian version of this recipe, of course you would omit the meat and use 6 to 8 cups of the cabbage. That way you will still have enough filling to fulfill the recipe. Since I use about 1/4 cup of filling for each egg roll, I was able to make 10 egg rolls out of this recipe. All right, so if you put more or a little less, your outcome will vary a little bit. So now it's time to fry. And remember, I don't have an oven, so if you ask me about the oven temperature and time, I don't know, all right? But I have some preheated oil here in my fryer at about 365 degrees. And then I figured out what I did wrong. If you look really closely, you can see that I used 2, not 1, wrapper, and it can happen so fast. Was it still good? Yes. Did it change the outcome? Not too much, but I did rewrap the ones that I had so you could get a true visual of what the recipe will look like. It's not the end of the world, but you make mistakes and you just correct them and you keep on going. For the dipping sauce today, I am using Trader Joe's sweet chili sauce. It's good for pot stickers, egg rolls, and wontons. I keep it in the fridge, $1 and some change. You can't go wrong. And that's it. There are our chicken and vegetable egg rolls. They only took maybe 3 to 4 minutes to fry, depending on how hot your oil is, but they are delicious, and I hope you give this recipe a try. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out and cooking with me. You know I appreciate it. Don't forget this recipe and others can be found at gdseasoning.com, and I'll see you all next time.